We defend together, and in some moments we didn't do it when we concede the goals, and there we have to improve.
I didn't want to look at my bottle because I know people's out there gunning for it to be banned, but it's my trick, so I'll keep doing it.
Well, I think we saw a glimpse of your bottle in close-up, and I think it said Welbeck 50% right and 50% left, so that, is there still an element of just anticipation?
Yeah, but you haven't seen the little bit above, have you? The little detail above yet? Yeah, I'd keep us left, so I always never changed my mind.
You said this week that had you not been offered the job, you would have been back here at some point as a supporter watching games. How was it as a manager and supporter all in one on day one?
It was brilliant, because there is history today that it's the first game, and somebody will be standing interviewing a manager here in 100 years' time. You know, we'll all be well gone, but the point is we started it off today, and I hope that the history of the future is going to be a lot to be talked about.
Well, they started it off well, and it looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? Lucky Stadium, what a difference 6 days makes.
Well, it was a really good day for Everton and a really good day for Jack Grealish. He brought balance and he brought width to the side, and it's something that they were really short of last week against Leeds. And you're looking at Jack Grealish and his experience that he can use out on the pitch, out on the left-hand side is where he played today. Going back 6 days, 2 against Leeds, and those are the two wingers in there, very narrow, and you're left with 6 players in such a condensed area there. Against Leeds, it's really easy to defend, and when they do go wide, David Moyes touched on it, they've got a centre-back on the right-hand side here, and O'Brien, and Garner on the left, who's a centre midfielder, right-footed centre midfielder at left-back, and the running lines get cut off, the passing lanes get cut off, and the options just aren't there. We cut through to this week, and Grealish gives them so much space, gives them so much width. You look at Dewsbury Hall, who's one of those 6 in that tight area. Now he's got a real abundance of space to switch the ball, to get out to, and it's just about maintaining that balance, maintaining that width that Jack Grealish, he knows what to do when he's out here. He wants to be in this position, and he can drive at a defender, and guess who's there on the far post? It's Ndai, scoring what was Everton's first goal in the stadium, a really well-worked goal, and something that Everton fans will be hoping for more and more of, and they got it in the second half. And again, Ndai and Grealish, you can see how much width that gives them, how much space it gives Dewsbury Hall out there. Barry with some really good centre-forward play that we'll touch on with later, but the combination there, we've highlighted Grealish at the top of the screen, just to hold his nerve, hold his width, hold the space to allow the other players to come in. And this is where Garner wants to be, a centre midfielder in a centre midfielder's position on his right foot, a wonder strike, a brilliant performance from Jack Grealish. And we go to show where he affected the game. Where does Jack Grealish want to be on the pitch? Where does he want to play? It's out on that left-hand side. He's tormenting the defences, but he's really held his shape, and he's held that shape for Everton. It was a really good day for them.
And as many assists as he's had in the last 2 seasons, so it might be a bit futile, this question. Is that his best position, or do you want to see him a little bit more central at times?
Well, to me, it doesn't matter where he's playing. It's about how he feels. Does he feel loved? When he was at Aston Villa, he was on the left-hand side, but they gave him the ball, gave him that freedom. At Man City, it was one of many great players, and I think it kind of stifled him a little bit, that every time he had to be very deliberate in his movement, deliberate with his play. I think you saw today a Jack Grealish. The first goal is Aston Villa Jack Grealish, the second goal is Man City Jack Grealish, but he has the freedom to do what he wants. So as long as he's happy, there was a lovely picture at the start with his daughter. I thought that was a real encapsulation of where he's at this moment in time. Look, looking around at his new home, you get to bring your family there. Just watch the smiles on his face. This is a young man that's happy and enjoying himself again, and that only bodes well for England.
Just as much as that, didn't he? I could drift, I could be more or less where I wanted today, and all those kind of emotions make it feel like he's in a place that he feels loved and wanted. And also you notice that his teammates are looking for him the whole time, and does that help somebody like Barry, do you think, who's new to this setup?
Yeah, and I think as well for Barry, I was at the game against Leeds on Monday 6 days ago, and it was criminal. That's the only word I could use, that Beto stayed on the pitch. He was awful. But this young man, again, 37 games last year, 11 goals, played all summer for France, has to get up to tempo and speed with what David Moyes wants. But his touch, his link, he held up the ball so much better. And obviously he's going to take a while to get accustomed to it. But he just added a different focus, was running in behind. And that then allows for Jack Grealish and then Dyer, as Rob alluded to have so much space, and it gives the back four something to worry about.
Have either of you ever had to be the first in a team to play at a new stadium and had that emotion kind of going in? Because it must be such a kind of relief to get that result in your first game.
I think you look at the history of teams, and a lot of teams have won their first game and then struggled immediately after that. I think Southampton's the only side not to win their first game in a stadium, but you lose your identity, you lose the pockets of fans that sing, you lose the feeling, and generally they're really, really nice to go and play in, and that counts for the away team as well, and you lose that intensity. And you know, my old club West Ham, how they're suffering in their new stadium, and you're thinking, wow, what to be back at the bowling. And it's that sort of intensity that you lose to create your new history. David Moyes touched on it. New history again and again and again. They've got to go and do it the next game and the game after that.
We've got to talk to you about keepers and information, because Pickford, we saw him checking his bottle on Monday against Leeds. He went the right way, didn't save that penalty. It worked for him today, though. All this intel, all this information that is at their disposal on their water bottles.
Yes, just a reminder. It's only a reminder. He will have watched so many penalties before the game, and there is the key bit of information: go left. And I think it's abundantly clear to Jordan Pickford when we see it in a second, but you're looking for various different tells, and it's easier with a shorter run-up, down to the step, down to the type of movement he makes from a shorter run, even down to what foot he starts his run-up up. And you look at Jordan Pickford now, you can see he's actually further over to the left-hand side. So there's so many giveaways within this. The final giveaway, the angle of Danny Welbeck's foot, if you're good enough to wait that long, he can't put it in any other direction but that side, because he's cut off 3/4 of the goal.
So you would notice things that the player was doing and positioning their body before you made your decision?
Yeah, the more information I got, the better I got at saving penalties. And one that I really enjoyed was against Steven Gerrard, and he used to set off in a different direction with his right foot as opposed to his left foot in a different direction as the start of his run-up. And you could tell just by that first step which way he'd go off a shorter run-up, and I had a really good record against him. So whenever Liverpool got a penalty, you're like, right, just give me that first step, and you find those little triggers, and Jordan Pickford today nailed it.
On the other side, Welbeck didn't look too confident, did he?
No. Look, I like Welbs. He's a friend of mine as well, so I've got to be careful. But as a striker in this situation, as a former penalty taker, I'm thinking about the moment. It's the 77th minute. You got this feeling now. If you score, all the momentum's with you. That short run up doesn't feel like it's a natural run up, but this is the biggest tell for me. Just watch when he hits this now with his right foot. It comes off his heel. It's not a clean hit. So to me, it was just about, I would go down the middle in that situation, because it would take a lot for Jordan Pickford to stand in that environment with a new stadium, with all the fans behind him, to stand there and do it. I just think go down the middle in that situation, go get it to 2-1. Now all the pressure's on, now all the anxiety builds, and you can keep going. But for me, Brighton were poor going forward in their clinical edge. Their XG was excellent. It was a case of like 2.46. So they should score, but it just back-to-back games now with that killer instinct. They've lost João Pedro, and unfortunately haven't got that killer instinct now.
And we wondered, didn't we, Troy, where does Rob Green sit in that pantheon of British, English, Premier League goalkeepers? And in terms of percentage, he's the top, 26% of those penalties faced that he's saved. However, he's just one now behind Jordan Pickford, but he's taken many fewer than you. So what's more? Sorry, he's taken more than you. So what's the secret?
Information for me. It was all about the information. I couldn't save it. I never saved one for Norwich in 250 games, and then I got to West Ham, a greater number of information, a greater budget that allowed us to get that information, and from there, stroke of fortune sometimes, but it was the information that I could take on board, and there must have been worse penalty takers in our day.
You got in there before he did. Okay. Next up to Craven Cottage, where Manchester United have